put you down!
Let's see.
Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. I figured Dragon Age Veilguard is coming out. I've never played a Dragon Age game before. I typically like darker and harder fantasy than that appears to be. But because it's coming out and all the transgender dialogue options, the double mastectomy scars and the character creator, the basic spoon feeding of ideology, which is what the dialogue is, and it's clearly aimed at children, right? You don't need to spoon feed dialogue about non-binary pronouns or gender ideology to an adult. They can sort of gather it themselves. At best, that's poor writing targeted towards adults. At worst, it's targeted towards children. And video games, these days the average game is like 30 or so. But to me it appears to be a very cynical sort of ideological propaganda targeting of a younger audience with gender ideology, which is just absolutely fucking reprehensible. Given just that you can confuse younger audiences, especially if they're going through puberty or they're a tomboy or perhaps they're lesbian or gay. The fact that you could confuse them into adopting some sort of ideology that permanently mutilates them, sterilizes them, drags them into a series of actions in which they will behave in a sunken cost manner, permanently damaging themselves, and then after they've done that, subjecting themselves to a significant suicide risk. Uh-oh, I said suicide. I probably just got fucked in the algorithm. Look, I'm not going to censor myself. Even if not, my videos get no views. I'm hoping one day YouTube will fucking fix its mistake and stop fucking all this fucking nonsense of, you know, restricting your audience to like 1 or 2 people. Just because you said either suicide or retarded or rape or something like that. Yeah, nah, I'm not going to be one of these people that says grape. Fuck that. It's fucking nonsense. Fuck YouTube. Qmee censorship. Cunts. But yeah, can we just talk for a moment about how much of a luxury belief non-binary and trans ideology is, and how little of a place it has in anything fantasy, dark fantasy, gothic, ye old early Christian crusade setting. Like, if you said you were non-binary back in the day, you might get burnt as a fucking witch. To say nothing about the operations, like the trans operations, there's no hormones back then, so you shit out of luck with your fucking trans nonsense there. In addition to that, some character, like the character creator has double mastectomy scars. You can put double mastectomy scars on your character. Can you explain to me how any cunt that got like a double mastectomy back then in that age, managed to not die of like severe infection? Like these days, people die from infection. Like that's to say nothing about fucking the actual surgery where you have internal hair growing and you have to use a dilator to make sure the wound doesn't close. Like all the antibiotics and everything associated with that. You're telling me that in the setting, which is like medieval setting, where people don't even like brush their teeth properly, they don't even shower properly, that those fucking people are gonna manage to maintain like any of that shit? They're dying from infection in like fucking 10 seconds. And people will look at them and assume they've been possessed by the devil or something and like burn their remains. There's like no fucking chance anyone's gonna buy any of that fucking nonsense back then. It's just hard enough to live. You just gotta like get food and not die. And if you get a cut while you're tending the field, you might fucking die. Like that's what the setting is back then. But instead they've got like this fucking magical pixie thing, self-flagellating by doing push-ups for getting fucking binary pronouns wrong. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what are these fucking writers? What are they doing? Like, where did the good writers go? The writers that would actually add, like, certain little details from unremembered history into their art to, like, give it an extra look. Like an extra detail to add depth to their art. This just seems to be like spoon feeding. Well, it appears to be the whole Blackrock thing, right? Where they're like, we have to force behaviors with our advertising revenue, with our money. Yeah, no shit. But like, I guess if you've got, you know, magical healing with mana and shit, maybe you could, you know, maintain a permanent wound, which is what an artificial fanny would be. You'd run out of mana pretty quick though, I assume, and it'd be very uncomfortable because you get the internal hairs and all that absolutely horrible shit that no one ever talks about with the, you know, trans surgeries and stuff. Oh, look. Oh, the YouTube fucking hit my video again. Uh-oh. But, like, they're not going to have any hormones or anything. There's going to be no transition when they're younger. It's literally going to be a dude in a dress. It's not going to be, like... Well, it's a luxury belief, isn't it? Like, none of this fucking shit really happened in areas where people needed to focus on living, did they? It's a lot more of a... Well, in my opinion, it's an inconsistent, internally inconsistent Marxist ideology that's just gotten out of control. And in my opinion, it was probably designed to reduce child rates, child and birth rates and all that sort of shit. Because think of it, the ultimate goal, what does trans surgery succeed in 100% of the time? Sterilization of people. Seems to be like a... not even an overpopulation thing, like... I don't even think the people pushing that buy that, because like overpopulation's not really a thing. Like population collapse is just because the amount of elderly that there are and the increases in science and medicine, right? Meaning the elderly people are going to live a long time. By fucking up birth rates, you are facilitating like a population collapse. So we're going to have like a shitload of elderly people. And because you've reduced the birth rate so much, if you don't try to increase them with like something like mass immigration. This is their excuse for mass immigration, by the way, but they don't have the foresight not to accept people from the Middle East, where they're literally fighting wars and have been fighting wars for like there for decades, and like Middle Eastern war doctrines especially Islamic war doctrines, they target civilians directly. They target them directly. We're not talking about strategic bombing campaigns in the West where we target civilians in order to reduce their industrial capacity. No, we're talking about killing a civilian in public and displaying their corpse in public and killing them in a painful way, perhaps even torturing them to death, in order to inflict fear on the other civilians, in order to get them to bend to your will. That is what Islam does. It's a very much a like warlord's theory of targeting civilians. It's got none of the veneer of the Western strategic bombing, where they view targeting industrial capacity as a means to reduce war effort and to show the public of that country that they can be held to account for their role in organizing the war machine, right? No, not like that. The intentional infliction of fear, right? And those are the people we're accepting into our country in stupidly huge numbers. We're not even screening them properly to make sure they haven't committed crimes. There's no way to screen them properly if you're getting them from places like Afghanistan or Pakistan, where they burn people alive for witchcraft, by the way. I watched a video on fucking Twitter the other day. There's like a bunch of uncensored horrible shit on Twitter, like it's got Muslim gangs like abducting girls and cutting their noses off and shit like that because they won't marry them. Like, the whole thing is fucked, right? Islam as a whole is just fucked. But no, we're getting them here. We're getting them here in their thousands, if not tens of thousands. And Islam is a religion of peace, guys. Yeah, don't think about it too much. But yeah, like the whole ideology thing to reduce native population, it seems. Like that's what it seems to be pushing, right? Like trans ideology just inflicts sterilization on people. And if you sterilize people, they're not having kids, right? And people assume sort of shallowly that that's in order to reduce population because, you know, overpopulation's a problem according to climate deniers and shit. But who knows? Might just all be paranoid rambling by me. I don't think it is. Like, the fact that anyone would try to label my rambling paranoid when I'm criticizing the things I'm criticizing is absolutely insane. Like, if I told you that there was a pseudoscience that sterilizes people in the name of mental health, I think you'd look at me funny, but that's exactly what we're doing. And yet, my views are viewed as crazy. Like, I've long since, stopped caring about what other people think. Like, especially when the jab came around and the amount of people that conformed to that. Even though the principles behind it were the same as, like, thalidomide and, like, Unit 731. Like, forcing people to have a medical experiment. Or taking their job away. Okay, so you're forcing an outcome there in terms of medicine at the cost of health. To say nothing about the old jabs, like effects on miscarriage and stuff. I'm not even sure if you're allowed to say that on YouTube yet. Like, I'm really not well read up enough on what you can and cannot say on YouTube. Like, the whole fact that there is like this shadow censorship where they will just take your video and reduce its audience to like 3 people if you say something, not even tell you, not even have clear guidelines on what it is. It's like this sort of infliction on fear designed to force you to self-censor and to be afraid and self-censor. Fuck that whole thing. Fuck YouTube at that point. That's fucking ridiculous, you stupid communist pieces of shit. What the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, anyway, back to Dragon Age. Like, that whole thing's fucking nonsense. That's clearly some sort of Blackrock pushing of gender ideology in popular culture, driven by Blackrock, trying to force a behaviour. If I had to say anything, their ultimate goal is to get a bunch of people in from the third world that are used to a lower standard of living, less freedoms, that sort of deal, because they've usually lived in dictatorships and that sort of shit, right? Get people in like that, get rid of the native population that are used to a high standard of living, and just to gain more power and control over the population. Like, that's the only thing I can see that they're doing. Like, I don't agree with it at all. It's complete fucking horse shit. But that to me looks like what they're doing. To what end they want all this control, I couldn't tell you. Probably just, you know, they're not happy with the infinite resources they've accumulated, so they need to, I don't know, get more resources and control over people and lead to individuals' deaths as some sort of, you know, depraved power boner sort of deal. Like, if I got infinite resources, like, I wouldn't be bothering anyone. If I hit my goal of like 70 grand a year in like passive income, which I'm like trying to do with all my fucking affiliate marketing videos, all that sort of shit, I wouldn't then, you know, seek to inflict my bad politics on people and then seek to inflict population control and reduce birth rates and then try to seize more political control by importing like a population from a country with shit culture that I could then mold and accept, you know, totalitarian dictatorship and all that sort of shit. Nah, I'd kind of just fucking chill out. Hey, I'd kind of just chill out and be like a consumer of popular culture, maybe a critic of popular culture, like what I'm doing here, and criticize shit like Dragon Age. Like, why the fuck are they that fucked up and retarded? Like, I get it. Like, survival's pretty fucking hard, and you've got to, like, compete for resources and shit. But why would you deliberately kill, like, a ton of people? Like, there's more than enough resources to go around. Like, the whole the whole thing's sort of fucked. I don't know what they're aiming at, unless it's like some sort of, you know, demonic ideology thing. I mean, why else would you push for, like, mass abortion and abortion of children? That's like another fucking thing I saw on Twitter the other day. And by the way, don't look up these graphic videos if you've got a weak stomach. There's videos on Twitter, if you put the uncut version of Twitter on. And I warn you again, don't look it up if you've got a weak stomach. But there's videos, especially from this dude called Billboard Chris, of the aftermath of late-term abortions. And it is literally just a pile of mutilated, you know, baby parts. Ripped apart baby parts, like crushed skulls and, like, ripped off heads and shit. Like, late-term abortion is really fucking horrible. Like, it's like, if I had to compare it to anything, I'd say it's like child sacrifice meets like Unit 731 sadism, right? It's really a fucking just disgusting, horrible fucking thing. And apparently, you know, that's what one side of the political aisle is pushing for. They view it as some sort of right to, you know, do this as to babies, even though, you know, we consider murder and, you know, torture and all that sort of thing, like, something that shouldn't be done to other people, and we sort of all seem to accept that. The left don't seem to be able to accept that, and they kind of just want to inflict it on people for some reason. I don't get it. But yeah, like, I don't know what the world's going to. The fact that all of this is out in the open, though, even though Google and YouTube are trying to squash it as much as they can, like, even by, like, you know, getting rid of the words like rape, even when you're talking about things that you would like to stop, like, you know, grooming gangs in England, rape in prisons, like, all that sort of deal. Even when you're talking about shit like that, they still censor your videos. Like, it's the fact that they censor just based on words. Like, I've always viewed that even in media, and particularly with China, but also with our media, the censorship is sort of like a gateway towards political censorship. Like, sure, it's not nice to see shit getting killed and people getting killed, animals getting killed and all that sort of thing, and you've got to censor it. But I've always felt like when media take that power onto themselves to censor stuff, particularly like graphic stuff that they're reporting on the news, like car crashes or whatever, even attacks in the media which they report, they always censor it, even on regular TV now. And to me, that's always seemed like okay, you're kind of making a decision for me here. I want to see the truth of things, and you're not letting me see the truth of things. I guess some people would probably, develop some sort of traumatic response to it. Like, it's pretty harsh seeing this shit sometimes. Like, it's not nice going on Twitter and seeing, like, some dude who's tied to a post getting burnt for witchcraft in some Islamic country just because, they're assuming he's, guilty of something which at the very least is spurious. But yeah, but like media taking like that onto themselves, and then after that censoring like the very words, just simple words like rape, that people now need to refer to it online in YouTube videos as grape. Like, you're still getting the word across, you've just deformed the language in this horrible way. Like, you haven't done anything to get rid of the fact of the matter. If anything, you're like creating an illusion that hides the problem, so the problem can't get solved. Like, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. But, back to Dragon Age. It's complete fucking nonsense. Why would you think anyone in like any sort of medieval culture that's, repressive, has dictators, has like capricious kings, has like overarching religions, has like conflict between overarching religions, why anyone would accept a term like non-binary? Like, if you introduce that, even if you introduce the idea of being gay, and I don't have anything wrong with being gay, like, you do you, but binary, non-binary, that's like an attack of a structure. Like, that's clearly there's something wrong, right? The fact that you think you can, create an artificial penis or an artificial vagina that isn't linked to any of your hormones, that isn't linked to your brain, that doesn't even function as a sex organ, it's like cosmetic, and you think that can change your sex and gender. Like, yeah, like, you're looking very mentally ill. Like, back in the day, mentally ill was looked at as, oh, you're possessed by demons, we've got to like exorcise you or burn you, one or the other. Same thing with Islam. Like, Islam has extrajudicial killing of gays, and a lot of places in Islam, they, just straight up kill gays for like the longest time. Like, they viewed that behavior as, some possession by some sort of demon or spirit or something, right? The same can, like, and like in all cases, it's like not always, that obvious. Like, simply left-handed people, like it used to be called sinistrality, which is like, a big scary name, sinister sounding. Left-handed people used to be thought to be possessed by the devil, and now you're telling me you're going to go back into medieval times and introduce this modern luxury pseudoscience concept like non-binary, which is complete fucking nonsense, and trans ideology, which is also complete fucking nonsense, and it's going to be accepted by these people that, regularly cave other people's heads in with maces on a battlefield. Yeah, no. Not at all. Like, what are you thinking? Like, there was no separation of church and state back in those days. And those days were usually ruled by some form of religious law, like, you know, divine right of kings, Sharia law, that sort of thing. Even if it was in one of the more tolerant Islamic places that outlawed, you know, being gay, those places still had extrajudicial killings of people and pogroms, right? Like, just because it's not legal by, like, the standards of the law, it's still culturally gonna get punished. And, like, especially back in the day before any, like, reformation of Christianity or reformation of Islam. Like, I don't know who wrote that, but that's just dumbing down history and creating something which is just pushing an ideology, and the art is just horribly suffering for it. Like, let's say you wanted to push the ideology and you didn't want to do it in such a shit way. You could have created, like, an innocent, good character that was, you know, calling themselves non-binary or trans, and, like, shown them getting burnt at the stake. That way you would at least be creating sympathy for your ideology, rather than, like, spoon-feeding nonsense to people. But, you know, I've never been a fan of Dragon Age anyway. It's... yeah. But the fact that it's had the guts to, you know, put its head up, like, it's gonna get criticized, right? I'm gonna criticize the fucking shit out of that. Yeah, complete fucking nonsense. But yeah, seems to me like if I didn't know better, and like, these people are, like, internally inconsistent anyway. Like, the whole thing about Marxism is, you know, internal contradictions don't sort of matter and that sort of shit, right? But, like, it really does appear to be attacking very structures, right? And at this point, it's not only attacking the structures of, you know, gender, sex, all that sort of thing, it's attacking, well, art and history and understanding of history. It's like trying to condition this childish painting of this childish, you know, false history of this exception of, you know, non-binary or whatever, which is, like, just complete fucking nonsense. But yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on Dragon Age Veilguard. And if you were so inclined to wish culture, art to improve, all those things, censorship to stop, the political power of the internally inconsistent left wing that wish to censor and use force to push an agenda to fail, if you wanted all of that to fail, I would suggest you don't buy Dragon Age Veilguard. I would suggest you use the power of your dollar to make sure that these ideas are unpopular and are not accepted. But hey, the beauty of it is, it's a free world for now. You can completely fucking ignore me if you buy all the gender ideology nonsense. You can completely ignore me. You could buy 10 copies. You could, you know, give all your money to the cause and make sure they make a Dragon Age Veilguard 2 that has, you know, all that lovely stuff in it.
Damn.